with you, Governor, from where we've left it off with the CEO. Thank you for making time for us as well. He says this was foretold, the country was forewarned, but that it may differ because of perhaps the peculiar circumstances different of each county. So for your county in particular, 1.2 million Kenyans, the second largest in the country, the early warning systems, you knew this was coming, didn't you?
Thank you, Sophia.
Yes.
Indeed, we are in a drought situation now. We depend on NDMA and the Meteorological Department to guide our interventions, including information that we get directly from the people, because we have officers working out in the field. And I want to admit that climate change has actually distorted the early warning systems, so that even what the Meteorological Department tells us is going to rain, it doesn't rain. So even what NDMA tells us, because the latest NDMA survey were indicating that we were in alert stage. Alert stage is the next stage from normal, and with pockets of Turkana, although they are significant, 20% of the population, being at the alarm stage. I think that those are the bulletins we are getting. They are not such accurate because of the climate change, which has totally distorted all early warning systems. And I think that is something that we have to live with.
Yeah.
But of course, the severity of the drought is increasing now as the weather system changes, the heat continues, 43 to 45 degrees during the day, and 34 to 38 degrees during the night.
Yeah.
That is one that increases the magnitude, particularly the drying up of our water sources. We have lost almost close to 400 water sources that have dried off. Some of them are boreholes, some of them are subsurface water sources. But equally so, what has also made the drought to be severe is the fact that pastoralists are moving, huge movement to look for water and pastures. But they are facing insecurity. In fact, a lot of the problems associated with huge food shortages, and probably even the problems which the media has associated to deaths, is associated to families that lose livestock in those critical grazing areas across our borders.
I want to take you back to a point you've made regarding, and we've seen the NDMA CEO talking about the accuracy, questioning the Met Department. You're saying the same. It's interesting though, because I remember last year, one of the things the department was hailed for is the accuracy to which they'd say it's going to rain at this time, the kind of rain we're going to experience, and it happened. But anyway, we'll take that up with them. But and you talk about climate change, the very essence of devolution, power services closer to the people. So outside of the bulletins from NDMA and early warning systems, you were there. You get to see things changing. And we're told some of the things that you're able to read, drought is impending, is the animals travel farther, and you know all these things. You've lived there for a long time. So wasn't there enough outside of the bulletins for you to know you have a crisis that's coming and to be able to plan accordingly? And if so, what did you do to avoid this? Definitely
from October, when the water sources started drying up, we began increasing our interventions to repair the boreholes that were being overused. But we also put in a water drilling machine that we have to drill boreholes in places where we could get water. In addition to that, we began water tankering to about 100 points, villages, where there was totally, the water table had gone down and there was totally no water. And we've been increasing that intervention on water even up to date. And also on other areas on the health sector, we've also increased interventions jointly with the partners that we work with, to a point that the numbers that are coming into our health facilities, they're more than almost 600 health facilities across Turkana. So it's that all the children that are coming are being screened and they're being taken care of. The numbers don't look that bad, but it is at this point now where the tippling could happen. And I'm glad that the media has highlighted this positively, because if we don't increase the interventions now, because this is a critical point, if we don't increase the interventions now, then people will tip over to to a critical emergency situation.
But the efforts in as far as water are clearly not enough. We've seen pictures, we have had my colleagues in other media houses as well in Turkana, in the various counties, showing children with their school uniform, fetching dirty water, some drilling, trying to get some water, stringing and hanging on to dear lives. So that did not suffice, Governor. And on food, there are people who are going to sleep tonight. They haven't eaten, they don't know when they'll next get a meal. And yet there are counties near you that have surplus. So why early on wasn't there a plan, coordination with the counties to bring food, store it, so that now we don't have this crisis?
Sophie, I'll answer two things. Water has been a very big challenge. Even at normal times, provision of water, which basically is a permanent solution to pastoralist arid areas, has been a challenge to us even at normal times. So when a drought comes in, the severity increases. I think we've got to get a national plan. It's not only a county, beyond what the county can do. We've got to get a national plan where we do something and increase interventions on water. On the side of food, we procure most of our food from Trans Nzoia and Uasin Gishu, with the food basket of Kenya. And we've just finalized distributing 2,500 metric tons of food. And we will continue procuring, and I think even the first week of January, we will begin another cycle for first week of April, we'll begin another cycle for April until over 3 months. But then, if the normal rains that are normally expected in those areas between now and May totally fail, then we've got to plan for 6 months. So we're now planning for 3 months, expecting that the rains will still come. But if they don't fail, then we will have to go all the way up to September.
Yeah, but even if the rains come, it will take some time for crop to grow, for it to be harvested. So still, even if they come when they're supposed to come, you still have to give them that room for the normal process of crop to be able to get to the table and for ordinary Wananchi citizens to partake of it. So still, for Kenyans watching tonight, and that has been the question that has been asked, because the people of Turkana have given you this office in trust, that you as a leader planning ahead, seeing ahead, would have ensured it is not now that we are transferring, that we are buying food, that we did it early on. Why didn't that happen?
I think what we do, Sophie, because we don't procure and store food because of the challenges of handling stored food and the fact that there's plenty nearby in Trans Nzoia and Uasin Gishu, and there's plenty in the National Cereal Board's warehouses. So it is easy to bring forward the food. One thing that the rains do is three-pronged. One, it rejuvenates the pastures and makes available surface water for the livestock to come back, and then milk is available to the children who remain back home. And I think that's critical. The second is also for those who are doing flood irrigation, growing sorghum, some growing maize, to be able to harvest the 3-month seasonal crop. So to that advantage. But I still feel, because we will be distributing food up to September, but at the same time, we are continuing to review the situation. We will be launching rapid assessments, interagency rapid assessment, like next week. There will be one. Then after a month, we'll do another one so that we can keep adjusting our interventions to deal with the situation.
Isn't it time for Turkana and the other counties to prioritize storage? You said, yes, the counties are nearby, they have the cereals, they have the NCPB. Why can't Turkana say, with our budget, we will prioritize storage so that we're able to keep this food, and whatever challenges you mentioned, those are counted and dealt with, so that then you are food secure as a county?
We normally keep a very small stock. It's about 300 tons of emergency, because every other time we have cattle rustling related insecurity that is happening. And in fact, which is the biggest cause of hunger in most of Turkana. In fact, even on a monthly basis, we are losing more than 10 people. And nobody is focusing on that, because that, to me, is what every Turkana, apart from a water problem, they will tell you insecurity is a killer. So we normally keep that stock for emergencies of small floods, of fires. So we normally keep that stock that help us cushion. But where we have to get a huge magnitude, then we've got to move it. I think right now, we will be bringing stock forward so that we can be able to store it in our warehouses in Lodwar and then distribute it on a monthly cycle.
All right, Governor, I want us to wind up for our viewers who are watching us on our KTN home channel. The sports news with Robinson Okenya will be coming up next, but you can switch over to KTN News, where this interview continues with the Turkana Governor Josphat Nanok. Right, Governor, so let's proceed with this. You've talked about what you have done and are continuing to do. There's been a lot of, and some of the feedback we've been getting because we told Kenyans you were coming to the show and they sent in many questions. So one of the points they were making is Turkana gets one of the largest allocations in as far as budget, 10 billion. It was 2018-2019. The Equalization Fund, for instance. The Public Finance Management Act requires that each county set apart some money for emergencies. Do you have that kitty, an emergency kitty?
Let me just explain and then I come about the kitty. Yes, we have a kitty of almost 200,000 shillings every year. And this time we had utilized 124 million to
you
buy...
have 200,000 shillings?
200 million.
200 million.
We had utilized 124 million to procure medicine for locust spraying of locust, and the aircraft is in Lodwar now, and it's beginning that program for spraying. It's about 150,000 acres that are invested by locusts. Indeed, Turkana gets 10 billion shillings.
Isn't 200 million for emergencies when you know the kind of challenges you face every year?
200 is statutory, which is an emergency fund.
So why not do more as a county?
Just a minute.
Put aside
200
more
million
money.
is a statutory fund.
Right.
We must put at that percentage it is required.
Correct.
But we had budgeted another 250 million for dealing with food emergency. Within the other sectors of water or health, we've got components of funds that we deal with critical emergencies in those areas. So I think that amount almost close to, if you cumulatively look at it, it's going to be about 600 or 700 million that is set aside for any critical emergency. Whether it is going to be floods, whether it's going to be drought, it is just a matter of flexing and dealing with that situation. All
right. Let's listen to the Deputy President and what he had to say as we come back to you, sir, because now the national government is involved with this. We've seen the devolution CS come to your county and he's been going to other counties as well. This is what the Deputy President had to say about the ongoing drought.
We have sufficient food in the country. The food situation in the country is stable and there should be no cause for alarm.
We were told the other day that 11 people have died. That is not true. From where I sit, from all the professionals that we have. In fact, the chief and the other fellow who actually faked death, we've taken them in for questioning, because these are people who are taking a very serious matter involving human life and playing around with it.
So that has been the rhetoric, the script by the national government and a section of county government officials. There is plenty within our borders that experts agree. It's an issue of that it's not getting to those who need it. But also saying that there are no deaths associated to this drought. You had indicated the same at some point. I wonder if you still hold the same sentiment, that thus far with what you've seen, not only in your county, but other counties that have been affected, that no Kenyan has died because of this drought.
Yeah, it is true. We can confirm that there are deaths associated to starvation. But there are deaths associated to so many other complex problems. Insecurity being one, probably diseases in areas where we cannot reach. So it could be a complexity of factors.
How many have died in your county as a result of the drought?
We haven't confirmed any, but we know people are stretched. Because normally those reports will reach government officers, chiefs, they will reach our health
but
facilities.
But when a chief said, you heard how he was reprimanded when the chief informed of this death. There's an MCA who talked about 17 dead in their county. The West Pokot governor, we have that clip, but we may not play it because of time. He talks about deaths in his county. So what is this almost very concerted effort to not admit that? On one hand, you say it's dire, but you said
I don't want to speak about Baringo. I want to speak about Turkana.
So in your county, you do not know of any deaths as a result?
What I can tell you is the complexity of issues which you could not be able to relate to one issue. And the biggest deaths, and I want to repeat again from my county, is coming from insecurity. People being killed due to rustling, impunity not being dealt with, and then those families are left as destitute. And if you leave families that are destitute and they are 100 kilometers away from any access, then you will not rule out that a complexity of both losing their livestock, diseases, and of course, hunger is going to affect that family, and they could even be dying.
Okay. So 10 billion shillings for 2018-2019, an equalization fund, because this, your county and others in the ASALs have been marginalized for a long time. So there's usually that extra at least allocated to help you get to the level of other counties. And Kenyans, one of the other questions they're asking, they're also constituencies, and the MPs in your county have also CDF. So how are all these monies not being concerted to, at the very least, a human right, food? If people cannot eat, if a government cannot feed its people, it's failed leadership, isn't it, sir?
Thank you, Sophie. I think let's first understand what Turkana is. If you know the former Central Province, Western Province, and Nyanza, that is the size of Turkana.
Yeah.
All those counties combined, with about 1.2 million people. We came into devolution from an era where we've been marginalized for more than 50 years, where we've been underdeveloped for more than 50 years, where we had huge problems. Health was problematic, water was problematic and still is, insecurity was abundant, food security was totally low, education levels, 60% of that population is uneducated.
Correct.
And even now, we have more than 200 children who are not in the school system, whom we're trying to bring in. So the allocation of 10 billion went into supporting these priority critical areas. And don't forget,
is there anything more critical than food?
79%, let me just mention, 79% of the population of Turkana is poor. So when you look at the Turkana, and you're coming from down here, you will see hunger, but you are basically staring at the face of poverty. Poverty in so many ways. And when you put money, because the complexities of famine in Turkana in the past used to be called by poor health, lack of access to water and poor quality water, and lack of food and access. I think all those combinations. So we had to put money into all these priorities that Turkanas wanted, because our budgeting is done with the county assembly, the representative of the people. And these budgets are also done through public participation.
Then let me put this to you, sir. On that point, you talk about all these priorities. Surely they cannot, and you make a legitimate point. Yes, a marginalized county for many years, literally every other sector broken down. But everything cannot be a priority. So can the priority, at least as a county government, to the county assembly, say, to feed our people? Development aside, whatever else aside, to feed the people, at the very least, should be the biggest priority. The most of the money and allocation of the budget should be going there, sir.
Let me tell you, the complexities of Turkana, you've got to feed people, improve food security, you've got to deal with water, which we are trying, even though the problem is beyond us.
Okay.
But you're also dealing with health issues, because without any of this, you will still have people facing problems.
So is that festival slated for next month with a budget of 20 million shillings, the Turkana Festival annual? Is it still going to happen?
Let me tell you, we've postponed the festival.
Has the money been reallocated? The 20 million?
We've postponed the festival. But you have to realize why we conduct Tobonglore Cultural Festival. It serves three purposes. Whether there's a drought or famine, Turkanas will celebrate and will respect their culture. I think that has to be very clear to people to understand what our dignity is. Number one,
dignity if they are dying, who will celebrate that?
Number one, let me just talk about it.
With due respect.
Number one, let me mention some things.
Our
number
time
one,
is running out. I still have quite
number
a number.
one, it brings the Turkanas together, even to discuss about development. Why now there is a rallying point of people wanting to go to school is because of that. The second, it's a political diplomatic tool. We try to resolve insecurity issues along the Turkana borders using that festival. And it is a priority of the people. They are the ones who asked for it, and it is being used. But we have postponed it, and we have reallocated the money, which the county assembly is going to be considering this week.
Okay, so the money may come back to deal with this drought. Let me ask you about
what I just postponing, but we are not doing away with it because we.
So the money will be also put aside still to fund the festival?
So the money will be reallocated because we only have about 3 months until the end of the financial year.
All right, sir. You've talked about water quite a bit and the efforts you're putting in place. And Kenyans may remember the discovery of the aquifers.
Yeah.
Huge deposits or water bodies, if I may say, in Turkana that could serve Kenyans for 75 years, we were told at the time. But now we understand salinity is an issue. Isn't there anything that can be done, even say for irrigation or any other use? Because when the discoveries were made, we saw locals taking the water. Now we are being told the water is poisonous. So what changed?
We got the advisory from the National Ministry of Water that water is not, the Lotikipi water aquifer is not good for consumption. But I've been rallying and discussing with the national government and development partners and even the private sector to see how we can be able to desalinate that water so that we can use it for huge projects of growing fodder, growing crops, and also making sure that the livestock around there and the people have fresh water, including the people, the residents of Kakuma town and the refugees.
It's been years though.
You've got to realize that investing on that aquifer is going to be huge resources. Huge resources that are going to go beyond the 10 billion that the counties, we are looking at counties to do. Not unless we take it as a national priority project.
So it cannot even be used for irrigation? Is it that bad? Is that what we're saying?
That's what we've been advised. You can't use it for now. But in Lodwar town,
your residents drinking the water. You would imagine then would have reported deaths off of drinking poisonous water.
You know what the media just reported, Nasinyono?
Yeah.
Nasinyono is sitting on that water aquifer. That place where they were indicating their problems of water because of those quality problems.
Okay.
And we've been tankering water to that destination even before this current drought came in.
You've seen that lovely story by Warita Tinina from Marsabit County, that in Marsabit they're also facing drought, but there are Kenyans there that have chosen to look outside pastoralism to farming. Is this, in your view, something you'd encourage your people that have historically been pastoralists, that perhaps they need to rethink their way of life and living?
Sophia, KTN has been a partner of Turkana County government. Over the last 4 years, you've been highlighting our long-term projects, particularly on food security. Very recently, when you had the Devolution Conference, you covered one of the farms, 400-acre farm, where the harvest of sorghum was ongoing. I can tell you, in areas in Turkana where we have permanent rivers, like the Takwal River, you go to Katilo and a few other places, you will find food in the farms. You will find those crops you found there. In fact, more than 500, 600 acres. You have a crew there. Send them there. And they will come with those news of what we are also doing hand in hand with trying to save the situation. You will realize also, as we are discussing about emergency response now, we are also tilling. We have a target of tilling 10,000 acres. And we have deployed 11 tractors and 5 more on the way. And we hope that any small showers that are going to come, then those pastoralists can be able to get sorghum to at least get them some bit of food.
Do you support the call by Kenya Red Cross that Kenyans donate at least over 800 million shillings to help with mitigation of this drought? Because they have been attacked online and criticized, I would use the word. They were saying Kenya Red Cross to Mechoka is one of the hashtags that has been trending. And the question some have asked is, why is the Red Cross asking for money when the government has said we have food? So food is not the problem. Couldn't the Kenya Red Cross come out and say, because of our infrastructure, we will support the government to distribute the food, as opposed to ask for more money to buy more food when the issue here appears to be access?
I think number one is government has a process of inviting development partners to come and join in. And being the first line on the ground, we work with partners that are within the county.
So can they not come help distribute?
And when the situation goes beyond us, just like we ask national government to come and assist us intervene. Nonetheless, for the county with the resources we have, we can meet now 70% of the needs that have been identified. So there is still a 30% shortfall. So we're inviting whoever wants to come and assist Turkana, but come with a clean heart. A clean heart of providing.
Does Kenya Red Cross have a clean heart? Because Parliament was probing and asking questions around the 1 billion they received. The President, remember, announcing 1 billion to Kenya Red Cross, and Parliament in probing this said they just saw a receipt of 1 billion from the Interior to Red Cross, but without specifics on how that money was utilized.
I don't want to discuss a specific partner, but I'm just saying partners who are committed, who are working with us. We have a shortfall of 30%. Come and work with us. We will show you where you can be able to deliver those inputs, but come with a clean heart.
Who is coming with a non-clean heart in your view? Because there's also talk that food aid is big business. There are those who thrive in such times.
I don't know. I think you can't talk on one hand and say there's a crisis, and at the same time you're saying it's business. But of course, when you are responding to a situation, food is bought somewhere.
What makes you say
it's being transported, so there are people making benefits out of it. Yeah.
There's a reason you're saying come with a clean heart. It's a message you're passing.
I'm so clear because when you criticize the people you are serving, when you criticize those who are busy helping them and negatively and trying to kill their spirit, please provide food, because the Turkana dignity is, if I personally go and provide some assistance, I don't dramatize it. I go and give it and keep quiet with it.
So
I think that's what we're looking for. And that's what the people in Turkana want.
Should the government declare this drought a national disaster?
I think it's too early to declare it. Not unless the government, both the county government and the national government, say they have the disaster has moved to a point where they are unable to provide for the people. But I think when we reach that time, they will make that announcement.
Final question. Now, drought in Turkana. When the heavy rains come, then we'll talk about floods. So what measures have you put in place to make sure that now we are not here seated having another conversation about too much water, people dying because of flooding, because that is the unique situation you find yourself in?
Let me admit we haven't done much in harvesting water. We haven't done much in harvesting water. And I think we will need that assistance both from national government, because I don't think we can have sufficient resources to be able to deal with town water systems, to be able to deal with boreholes, to be able to deal with water tankering. I don't think those resources will be sufficient. I think if you need to focus on harvesting water, then you need huge dams. Huge dams that only the national government that has also a borrowing capacity can manage.
Kiunjuri talked about 31 dams, I think, in 2 weeks or something.
Yeah?
You had the CS Kiunjuri talking about 31 dams to be constructed in a very short time period. So
I hope you'll allocate 5 of them to Turkana, or even 10. I'm waiting for that time.
All right. Yeah. Governor, I thank you so much for making the time for us here on Checkpoint, and we wish you the best as you do what must be done to ensure your people are fed, most important, and of course